You are tuned to ARP on the Accelerated Radio Network. It's 12 noon, and it's time to have lunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Bringing money talk you can understand. And now here's your host, Miss Charline.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Lunch with the Finance Bunch. This is Miss Charline, as you know, and today our studio is Zoe Christian Fellowship. And we're here with Pastor and Coach David Kobelin. How are you today, Pastor?
I am doing very well, thanks, Charline. It's great to be here with you.
Good. I'm so happy you agreed to be on the show. And we have so many questions for you. But before we get started, because this is your first time on the show, we want to know a little bit about you. Okay. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I am a pastor.
Yes.
Have been for just about 30 years now. And have loved the ministry, have loved being able to share the truth about Jesus Christ with people around the world, and also am a life purpose coach, as you mentioned, and I have my own company, Tharseo, and I also work with Awyken, which is the ministry of Zoe that has life purpose coaching.
Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit today about both.
Okay.
Tharseo
Mm-hmm.
and Awyken.
Awyken, correct.
And how the two complement each other.
Okay. Sure. Well, I started Tharseo.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a transition point in my life, and I'd heard about coaching, but wasn't very clear about what it was. You know, I'd been in sports, so I'd had coaches, knew things like that. So I began to pursue, because it sounded interesting, and went through a training, a 9-month training class with Erickson College, and got my professional certification through them. And it absolutely blew me away in terms of what it was, the principles that it taught to help people discover who they are. And I wish I would have come upon it about 30 years ago when I was starting in the ministry, because it would have transformed in many ways the way that I actually do ministry. So with that, I started Tharseo, which is the Greek word for encouragement in the New Testament. And I sort of call myself the encourage coach, because what I see part of what I do is to help put courage into people.
Yes.
Many times people don't know what to do, and they've got these ideas, but they don't know what it is exactly they want. And so as an encourage coach,
yes,
I help put that courage into them to be able to move forward into who it is that God has called them to be.
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference? Because that's the $1 million question, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between a coach, a mentor, and a therapist?
Wow. Good questions.
Mm-hmm.
And they all are in the industry of helping people.
Yes.
But a coach, and the thing that has attracted me to it, is the coach really comes alongside, and the coach is advice-free. The coach is direction-free.
Okay.
A mentor you look to because you like what they've done, you want to become like them, and so you want to begin to follow them. You pick up their habits, their patterns, how they do what they do. Mm-hmm. They tell you, here's what you need to do, which is great and appropriate at times. A therapist, counselor, something like that, very necessary at times too, but they will delve into many times your past, or things that have affected you, how they have shaped you, and then try and work at changing that. But a coach really always is focused on the future.
Yes.
It's always future-oriented, it's always positive, and it's always solution-focused.
Okay.
And so, best example that I like to give people is if you come to me and you're arguing with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're just fighting all the time. We're fighting all the time and we need help. Well, a counselor, appropriately so in their profession, may sit down, well, let's talk about your relationship. Let's talk about how you guys relate. Let's talk about your past, how you grew up, what was your relationships like, and the things that influenced and affected you.
Right.
Can be very helpful and serve its purpose. A coach, however, would take a completely different tact. What I would say as a coach is, if you weren't arguing, what would would you like to be doing? So you're looking into the future that says, here's what I want to be, not what I did. Because many times, and I am a counselor, so I can speak from experience, many times people come in that situation and what they want to do is have you change the other person.
Right.
They want you to tell them they need to do things differently, to see you the way you see it. Okay, they may want some change too, but
primarily to
change the other person. And the thing about a coach is it really is all about me serving you.
Yes.
What is it that you see, that you would want, that you can influence, that you can do?
Right.
It isn't about other people. It isn't about me. It's me serving you by coming alongside, asking great questions to help you discover what's already inside of you and what it is that you really want, and then helping you go down that pathway and get it.
I love that explanation, because so many times we deflect because we're afraid or confused or don't know what we want to do, and so it does become about the other people in our lives versus us taking that time to focus on who we are, and like you said, looking into the future and learning how to walk in that direction.
Yeah, very good, very good. And again, understanding what it is that's important about that future you want.
Yes.
Following the example is, well, if you weren't arguing, what would you want to be doing? Well, I'd like to be getting along.
Yeah.
I'd like to be talking. Well, then I would, okay, well, what would that do for you?
Yeah.
If you were communicating and getting along, that would mean like we're having a good relationship. Well, what would that mean about? Well, it means that I'm really being who I'm supposed to be. We can see things now together. We can move forward together and build on the positives.
Yes.
Is that what you want? Yes, that's what I want. And they begin to capture the value for them.
Okay.
Because as a pastor, as a counselor, we, especially if I'll step into my pastoral role for a minute, when I preach, when I teach, I want to inform people, but unless the people want to hear it, it's just,
Yes.
I mean, many times, and I've done it too, you listen to a great message, it's fantastic, something happens when you walk through the doors.
Yes.
It like goes whoosh and disappears, and the change that you wanted doesn't really take place because it didn't really have because somebody else was telling you what it was you needed to do. Somebody else was telling you why you needed to change. Somebody else was. But the thing of value of coaching is you discover what it is that's valuable. You discover what it is you need to change. And when you discover it, when you want it, nothing's going to stop you.
That's right.
Nothing's going to stop you, and that's where that internal motivation comes from to be able to make it happen.
Amazing. Now, as your first career is as pastor.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
And then as coaching, it complements actually what you do as a pastor. Am I right?
Absolutely. In fact, it does in my preaching. In my preaching now, I actually use many more questions to engage those who are listening, to ask them, what is this saying to you?
Yes.
Not just here's what, again, I teach and I outline and share what the scripture is, the history, et cetera, and I share what I think, but I also ask them, so now you, what does it mean to you? Also in working together with staff, helping them, asking them questions that are going to release in them the vision and purpose that God has for them as part of the team. So it influences everything, and right now coaching is really over $1 billion a year industry.
Yes.
Major organizations, the government, nonprofits, they're all utilizing it to bring about value in their people, because it really helps their people to get excited about who they are in that current situation.
Okay. Now, I know as a pastor, that's a full-time job.
It is.
And coaching, it can be a full-time job. So how do you align the two?
Well, for the past 3 years, or almost 3 years, I've been pastoring up in the state of Washington, and have also been doing my coaching in starting with my congregation, where they were at and what they were able to provide for me. I let them know that I will need to also have another source, and I am a coach. I'm also a church consultant. And so I'll need to continue to be doing that. They were very supportive of that.
Yes.
So I've been able to work them and mold them together. But as of the end of June, I actually just stepped down from the pastorate to actually move in with my mother to actually help take care of her.
Amazing. That's amazing. So you'll still be able to reach a multitude of people. And that brings up another thing that I wanted to discuss. Because you were in the state of Washington, and now you've relocated, and so coaching can be done from anywhere.
Anywhere.
You don't have to be in the presence of the person you're coaching.
No, you don't. Not at all. In fact, in some ways, and we talk about this in our coach training, in some ways it can almost be more beneficial because you want that person to be totally engaged with themselves.
Okay.
And sometimes if you're there, they can become more engaged with you and what you think and how you're responding, and so it can actually limit the effectiveness of the session.
Okay.
It can work fantastic in person, and I do my coaching in person when possible, but I have found over the phone or Skype, in fact, I've had clients in Russia that I've coached via Skype, and that's worked tremendously too. Coaching with someone back on the East Coast, we just have to make sure we get our time zones correct.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So you can actually be a coach internationally.
Internationally from your living room. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
as
the
long as you
benefit
get
of
the
it.
time zones
You
right.
get the time zones right, and you get your telephone or whatever it is working correctly.
Exactly. Now, what services do you offer as a full-time coach?
As a full-time coach, again, the beauty of coaching is you can coach about anything.
Okay.
I don't have to be an expert in finance. I can coach you about your finances.
Yes.
I don't have to be an expert about sports or physical training, but I can coach you about your physical training, getting in shape, about your relationships, about your job. I don't have to be an expert in any of that because the principles of coaching allow me to help you really, again, identify what it is you want in regards to those areas and what you want to do as you move forward. So that is, you can coach on anything, and so what we will do generally, it's about an hour-long session every 7 to 10 days, and really it's about whatever you want. Now I have different tools and things that help you explore some possible ideas or areas that you may want to look at, but really it's about, and what I'll do the day ahead of a session, I'll send out a session prep form. It asks you to take some time and think about how you've been doing since our last meeting and what it is, how you want to utilize your coach today. And whether that might be about your business decision or whether that might be something about something going on in your family. It really kind of depends on you. So that's the service as a professional coach I offer. And with Awyken, I'm the master or senior trainer, where we're actually training others to be life purpose coaches. And so in my role there, I've helped develop the curriculum, and I am the master trainer or senior life coach trainer, and I absolutely love it.
So you're coaching others to become coaches.
That's it. Training them of what the principles are, the understanding, what the process is, and giving them the tools to go out and do it. Yeah, and that's what we found really over these last few trainings. We've made some changes to the manuals and some of the way we do the training, and we're seeing people now after each one, they go out and they're actually doing the coaching. And they're loving it. Some of the people that are in our training already are coaching others, and very successfully.
Wow. And that brings me to another question I have for you. Coaching and mentoring. So you've explained the differences, right? Do you see them as complementing each other?
I think they can.
They can?
I think they
complement each
can,
other?
yeah, as long as you understand the differences.
As long as you understand. So a person could have a mentor and a coach.
Yes, and in fact, I am that to one of the people that I'm working with. He's asked me both. So really, it's this way, and sometimes our sessions may look a little like this. All right, I'm coaching you now. There may come a point where I'll say, you know what, I feel that I need to take my coach hat off. So I do that, and I'm going to put my mentor hat on, or my pastor hat on. and I will then step into that role.
Okay.
Whereas a mentor, I might say something much more directive or encouraging of what I think would benefit you, what I think would help you.
Okay.
And as long as that's delineated and we know that's what we're doing, it's great.
Okay.
And can be very helpful in context. And you don't have to do it in the session, you can do it outside of it too. I've mentored people my whole life. And so that is one of the great things about the training, is it helps you distinguish, so you know when you go into what's called coach position,
Right.
I'm coaching now.
Right.
So, and when I'm coaching, I am advice free. I'm not going to give you advice. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Even if you ask me, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Yes.
Because that's up to you when I'm coaching you.
Yes.
So,
Do you find that people have a hard time making decisions for themselves when they're put in that position?
they do. They do. They do. In fact, that's actually one of the neatest things about it, is to watch people walk through that process.
Yes.
Because they're so used to, and many times, and most coaches that we train too, the biggest thing they struggle with is, and especially when they're watching us do it or they're helping, they say, oh, I know what I need, I know what they need to do. I know what they need to do. I have to tell them what to do.
Right.
And
you
I
can't.
can't. And they go, no, but I have to. And a lot of times people want you to. And so
Yes.
they struggle with, they will, I've had them, well, what do you think I should do? That's a good question. And that's what I'll leave it. It's a good question. It's up to you. This we're here for is you. And once they understand that they take the time to discover it, they're amazed. Because all of a sudden they get it and it's theirs.
Yes.
And they then buy into it. They own it. And they know, this is what I want to do. No one told me this. This is what I know I'm supposed to do.
So it's
and
empowering.
It's totally empowering.
Yeah.
Because the challenge that you find is, if you like to give advice, well, if you give good advice, oh, you're the hero, thank you so much.
Right.
And then they get dependent upon you.
Yes.
But then if the advice goes bad, guess whose
They'll
fault
blame you.
their problem is? It's
Yes.
yours, because you told me. And that's what I love about coaching, is that, you know what, this is yours. And whatever you do with it, it's yours to own and yours to move forward into. In fact, I tell my clients that I know I've really asked a very good question when they sit in stunned silence for a while.
Okay.
And they have to dig deep to get an answer.
Yes.
Because that's something's happening then. Something's going on where they're having to look in, they're having to go where they need to go to discover what it is that they're looking for.
Wow. Now, do you find that to be successful, am I wording this right? To be successful, do you think coaching should be a component of that?
I think it can be it can be a very critical element to help people define what is success to them.
To them.
I think that's one of the beauties of it. It can help you, because what's success for you is going to be different than the next person, and
That's
the
right.
next person. And when you define it, and you don't let culture define it, when you don't let the
Yes.
media define it, when you don't let whoever, your family or friends, define what success is for you, but you do it, then you're set free to really embrace it.
Exactly, because you're creating what your definition of success is, and it
Exactly.
makes it more empowering to walk towards it.
Exactly.
Because you're creating the path.
And that's
Right?
it. That's exactly it. And it's yours, and you know what you need to do. So when you know you're there and you're stepping into it, you know this has been the journey you have been on.
I feel like I'm being coached in this conversation.
It's kind of fun too.
I'm
really
loving
enjoying
it.
Me
I'm
too.
totally loving it. And I think that my audience is being coached in this session. So you can actually see, and that's what I really wanted to bring out, is the value of having a coach and the value that's found in this as a profession.
Yes.
Because I think that, very successful people have coaches, not just athletes, not just dancers. Successful people have coaches. And so I've always admired that. And I myself have been coached and am coached. And so I always wanted to be able to bring out the value in that.
Beautiful.
For someone who may be listening on the internet or watching this podcast, to see the true value in coaching from both perspectives,
Right.
as the coach and as the person being coached.
Beautiful.
So thank you ahead of time for that.
Yeah.
Because I think we're accomplishing that in this conversation.
And that is exactly my heart too. I
Yeah.
find as I discuss this with people, if I can help tap into a value,
Yes.
they go, oh, that would be worthwhile.
Yes.
I see how that would benefit. In fact, I was at a conference, taught a session at the Purpose Conference here at Zoe this last week.
Yes.
And was going through this process, and I asked, is there anybody who has anything that they're, something that they'd like to see accomplished, that they haven't been able to, that, they've got this idea, this dream, but something's just stopping it. And somebody shared that they would really like to get their house cleaned up because they've sort of collected tons of stuff. And so I asked him, I said, well, so if you were able to, what would that provide for you? He said, man, well, my spouse would be happy. I said, oh, okay. And if your spouse was happy, what would that do? That would bring peace. That would bring peace
So
to
they're
our
looking
home.
for peace in their home.
And
Yeah.
there's the
Value.
And
Yes.
so if we were to spend some time together to help you come up with a way to declutter, it would give then your wife, your spouse would be happy, and you would have peace in your home. Would that be
Yes.
worth it? Oh my gosh, yes. So when they get it, that's the element that allows them to now move forward
And motivate.
into
To
it,
do
to be
it,
able to
yeah.
do it. And then as a coach yourself, when I step into that and I know that I've helped someone understand their values,
Yes.
and when I've helped them move in a direction that allows them to step into experiencing and living those values more fully and completely, I absolutely love it. Because my own personal life purpose statement is to give away what's been given to me
Yes.
to help others become all God created them to be.
Nice.
And that's what I'm here for.
Yes.
And coaching is a very important element of allowing me to do that, because I'm giving away what I have learned, what I have been given, to help them step into who they have been created to be.
Oh, so you're fulfilling your life purpose
That's totally it.
through your businesses
Yeah,
in part.
absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And again, the coaching principles, it's fun because you take them everywhere once you get them. In fact, I was just with my eldest daughter who lives down here, and we were out talking, and she said, Dad, sometimes I love it when you step into Coach
Coaching
Dad.
mode? Uh-oh.
Coach Dad. But sometimes I like you to just listen. I go, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And so that's really, I found it can be very beneficial, but you have to, with your family.
You have to know when to
know
take the
when
hat
to
off.
take the hat off and just be Dad.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Exactly.
Now, do you still have to stay to know what the education or the new trends are, to stay, abreast of what's going on?
Yeah,
in
I love
the
it. I'm a
industry?
lifelong learner.
Okay.
I love it. So I subscribe to Inc. magazine, Fast Company. I'm on coach blogs, coach newsletters, member of different coach groups.
Okay.
So I'm constantly exposed and exposing myself to what's new. Again, we just heard here at Zoe, Dr. Caroline Leaf,
Yes, who was
neuroscientist,
excellent.
about the power of the mind and how the
Yes.
mind actually creates brain matter as you
Yes.
think and
And-
choose,
Yes.
and therein lies the power of coaching.
Yes.
Because as a coach, we want people, we have people imagine and choose to think about that positive future. So knowing now that as they're doing that, they're actually creating that brain matter that's
Yes.
going to assist them in that. They're creating those new pathways, this new way to actually do it. It's
Right.
like, yeah, there we go. There's an incredible benefit and blessing to it.
You don't have to be stuck
No.
in what you're doing, and whatever you've done so far, if it was not successful, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can literally retrain your brain
That's it.
You know,
Yeah.
and go in another path.
Yeah.
You know, and be successful in that and not have to look back on whatever didn't work in the past.
That's it.
And I think that's amazing. It makes me happy.
Me too. Me too.
Right?
I loved her statement. She said, you know, you can be as intelligent as you want
As
to
you
be.
want to be.
And I go, wow, I
That's
love that. That
powerful.
is so powerful. I mean, yeah, it really is. And believing that and speaking that to yourself and then helping others step into that.
Yes.
Because so much of where we get defeated is our negative self-talk.
That's right.
And understanding now we're actually creating negative junk in our brains when we do that.
Yeah, that's clogging up space
exactly.
unnecessarily.
Just be able to say, stop.
Right.
I don't want that. I don't want that. I want the positive. So yeah, it's good stuff.
What motivates you to continue doing what you do?
I love people. I love Jesus first, of course, but I love people. I love who they are. I love knowing their story, and I love being able to, in whatever way I can, come alongside and help them be better.
Yes.
Be more of who they were created to be. That really is what has attracted me to Awyken, to Bishop Ed Smith, is his passion, just to release people into their God-given calling and purpose. And that is what motivates me every day. I have been given this incredible gift of forgiveness by grace.
Yes.
People ask me if I were to describe Christianity in one word, what would it be? It would be freedom.
Yes.
I'm free to be who I was created to be. It's not rules, regulations. It's a relationship with a God who loves me, who has so many better plans for me than I can even imagine and think of. And so I'm beginning to agree with that and step into that, and knowing that I've got this life as a warm-up to eternity. To do that, that's really what I want to do.
Now, is that your why?
I think it is my why. A lot of it really is. It's I love people, I want to help, I want to serve, and I want to release people. Honestly, my greatest joy is taking people, helping them, giving them the tools, equipping them, and releasing them to go and do greater things even than I could. I had the privilege of planting a church in Moscow, Russia, from 1992 to 1997.
Wow.
We actually started the church, raised up Russian pastors, set them in, and it's still going strong.
Wow.
And they're pastoring the church in a much better way than we ever could have.
Yes.
And I'm thrilled about that.
Yes.
And I just, again, transitioned to another church. I just talked to the person who is the interim pastor. He's a good friend. And the church is filling up.
See.
It's starting to fill up. And I seriously, I came out of my seat. I was so excited. I was just talking to him a couple days ago, and I was like, wow, that's so awesome. There wasn't, and I was like really excited because there was no jealousy.
Yeah.
There was no sense of, well, why didn't it happen with me? It was, no, I know I'm doing the right thing.
Yes.
I know he's doing the right thing. That's exciting. And that's my why.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see, here's a point that comes up from that. You know, in traditional education, we're always focused on the challenges. You know, we always focus on the negativity, the challenges. Okay, why isn't this student excelling at that? Why isn't this student excelling at this? We're not focused on their strengths.
Wow.
What makes a person strong?
Oh, good point.
And so I feel like coaching helps you to create the strength in you, to realize what your strengths are, to figure out your why, and to move forward in a path that you've created, that you yourself are comfortable with.
Beautifully put.
You know what I mean?
That's beautifully put. Yeah.
I think.
In fact, I think I'm going to take that and
Okay.
use that somewhere. Yeah,
It's recorded, so.
It is. Oh, good.
Yes, so have at it.
It was. No, that's exactly it. I think it does. It focuses on who you are, the giftings, the strengths, and there are different profiles, different things that I'll sometimes use that can really be very, very helpful in identifying some of those, and then focusing on building them. Identifying the strengths and then build them, work on increasing that, because you're going to be more effective doing that. Again, the science has shown you're so much more effective at doing that than trying to always go, where am I weak? Where am I weak? I've got to try to fix what I'm weak. And, you know, it's just Go, be strong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, how do you generate business?
By doing what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
And like I said, I've been doing this now for about 5 years. Most of mine has been through word of mouth.
Okay.
Through my network of people that I know, having a chance to sit down and talk with them, and then they'll talk to somebody else. Now that I am more full-time, my focus, as I've gone the last 5 years, I have continually been picking up different software, different tools that are going to allow me powerful in terms of creating online courses, creating, again, YouTube, creating videos, possibly podcast, vlogging, the different areas that I want to be able to reach more people. Also, looking at creating resource materials that people can access for free or for limited cost. And then at some point, getting into writing a book, something that will help people. So honestly, it's one of the things that I'm in that kind of growth trend myself of how to do it, and it's been exciting. Just recently, the doors have begun to open in a lot of different areas, internationally, to possibilities that are there. And a lot of that is really stepping into it with confidence. Discovering my purpose, discovering who I am and what I know I'm really good at. And being able to let people know. Because I know what I do can help them. I have no doubt about it, and I want them to be able to experience that. And so I want to do whatever I can to get them to a point where they can be helped.
Right. Now, what would you like people to know about, what message would you like for people to be left with after this conversation about your business? And
about my business, really, that it's here, again, to help them. It's here to come alongside and help them discover, clarify, and step into their best self, their best you, their purpose, however you want to define it. It's here, and it's going to help them do better in family, in job, in relationships, in school, wherever they're at. It's going to help them do and be better, first of all, and then do better in whatever it is. And it will do that. And I have no doubt about that.
Wow. This has been amazing. I want to ask you some fun questions.
Some
good. Fun questions.
I like fun questions.
You know, Lunch with the Finance Bunch is all about, health and wealth and finding who you are and creating a balanced life. So, what do you describe as wealth? What do you describe as wealth?
That's a really good question. I think wealth to me is a contentment with who I am right now, but an expectancy for growth in the future.
Do you think it's a mindset?
I think it is. I think it really is. Again, I look at the spectrum of as a missions pastor, with missions being in my blood, I've had the privilege of traveling around the world, and so I'm very well aware of our incredible blessing in this country, no matter where we're at on the socioeconomic ladder, compared to the majority of the world. And most of the people that I have found in developing nations that we would consider the poor are honestly some of the wealthiest people I've ever known when it comes to their mindset. Because they know love, they know their purpose, they know that they're here to give, they know that they're here, and that true joy comes from our love of God and our love of others. And so that's been exciting, but that doesn't, but that can be translated, I think, at times in our setting to where you're supposed to be poor to be happy. And I don't think there's nothing that says that at all anywhere. It's you step into who you are, because God wants to, I believe, provide for us that He's He will supply our needs according to His riches and glory.
Yeah.
Not
Not
His,
ours.
but His. And so
Yes.
He has so much more than we can ask or think. And I think that applies in every area of our life. And honestly, my time down here has helped my mindset shift in some regards to that, in terms of God wants me to have the impact He wants me to have, and He will provide all I need to do that, and I need to be careful about not limiting Him in what He wants to.
Yes. Now, as a part of our balance sheet, we also ask some personal questions.
Oh!
Yeah. What is your most memorable paycheck to date
Wow,
that you've ever earned?
ever earned?
Yeah.
Well, if I can, I'll tell you the story of it. It was not a direct paycheck, but it came from a client that I'm coaching
Okay.
right now, and we've been coaching for about 8-9 months, and it was a God thing that brought us together. And he sent me a note as I was actually sharing with him about this training that we're doing.
Yes.
And about how God is showing and revealing to me the purpose that He has for my life to really help train and raise up others in these principles and release them and empower them around the world to transform lives. And he was just, oh my gosh, it was wonderful to see, because he has embraced this process beautifully. He was faithful to God. He actually stepped out of a very successful job because he knew God had something else for him. And then we walked through a process of helping him discover that, what God has called him to be. And he stepped into it. He was stepping into this new position. And I got a card in the mail. And the card in the mail basically said, Pastor Dave, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for walking this journey with me. I believe what you're doing in the kingdom is just beginning. And I'd like to sow into that. With that, as I opened the card, one of the most beautiful notes I've ever received, a check for $5,000
Wow.
fell out.
Wow.
And he said, I'm sowing into the kingdom.
Wow.
Sowing into that which God has called you to. And so in terms of, honestly, not even the amount was that, it was just the willingness
Yeah, and
to
the
sow,
thought.
and the thought, and the fact that this gentleman gets the value of it.
Yes.
Gets the value of it. And that, you know what, when I get that in cooperation with it, it's phenomenal.
That's phenomenal. Okay. And then what's the one purchase you regret the most?
I read that one. You know what? I think what it is, and I'm going to generalize it, it's
Okay.
any purchase I've made that I don't utilize.
Okay, I like that.
And whether it's exercise equipment,
Or whatever.
whether it's the food, or whether it's the book that I got and still sits on my shelf after
Yes.
5 years. I think I'd have to frame it in that context, because
Yes.
it's a wasted purchase.
It is a wasted purchase. I like that. And what do you know now that you wish you knew back then?
Gosh. That God really does have my best interest at heart,
Okay.
and I can trust that.
Yeah.
I don't have to try and do it on my own.
I like that.
He is looking out for me.
Yeah. What does success mean to you?
Yes, following Him.
Okay.
I really, and it almost sounds simplistic, but that's where life is walking in that path, that purpose. For me, I know a lot of what that includes.
Mm-hmm.
It includes loving Him, loving my wife, loving my family,
Yes.
and then serving and helping people. And
Yes.
as I'm faithful to do that, that is success.
Are you successful?
I am. Thank you.
I like that answer. Yes, you are.
I am.
Very much so. What keeps you up at night?
Keeps me up at night.
Does anything keep you up
Yeah,
at night?
it does. And it's interesting because it ties in with that other. A lot of times I'll wake up and if my brain gets going, it's the, what about my kids? What about? And I'll frame this as the negative, what keeps me up.
Uh-huh.
And it boils down to lack of trust
Yes.
in God. The positive that keeps me up is when I wake up and think of the possibilities.
Yeah.
The amazing opportunities that there are, that we're seeing open up, and that are still out there that you haven't even been discovered yet.
Okay. Now, if you won the lottery, right now.
Right now?
Because somebody bought you a ticket. You didn't buy it yourself.
Okay.
And you won the lottery.
Yeah.
What would you do with the money?
What would I do with the money? I'd build the kingdom. I would. I know that I would take that and begin to invest it in ways that are going to grow the kingdom of God.
Okay.
And there's so many of those. And that doesn't just mean it would just be church.
Yes.
There's so many places where that money could be invested to spread who he is in places that so desperately need it, that don't have, the Project Nehemiah, what Bishop Ed's got going on here to help him transitioning foster youth.
Yes.
Boy, could they use a couple of $1 million?
Absolutely.
You know what an investment.
Yes.
Things like that, and then also finding young entrepreneurs that have that same mindset, that want to build and see. I would love to be able to be an investor in things like that. And I'd take a cruise with my wife.
That would be very nice.
And my family. Okay, I'll bring my girls along.
Bring the girls along too.
Okay, that's yeah, we'll do.
Now, I know people are going to want to get in contact with you, and they're going to want to know more and explore more about Pastor and Coach Dave, right?
Yeah.
And so how would they contact you?
Best way to contact me is to go to my website, it's davekobelin.com.
Okay.
And
we're gonna make sure everyone can get that. So.
Wonderful, thank
Yeah.
you. And then just reach out. My phone right now, just give me a call or send me an email, and I will definitely get back to you on that. I'd be thrilled to, would be happy to. And again, if they forget that, just get in touch with you, and you
That's
can
right.
pass that
I can
contact
pass that
information
contact
along.
And I have one final question, and I promise this is it.
Okay.
So, the Awyken coaching that you're doing.
Yes.
What would you say is one thing you'd like to encourage people that are thinking of becoming a part of Awyken? What is one thing you'd like to say about encouraging them to do so?
I think it gives such a clear understanding of the power of coaching, the power of these principles and what it is to transform their life and to give them tools to be able to help other people. I talk to other pastors and I say, you know what this is? This is just like another tool in your tool belt to help people. And I think that would apply to anybody. But I think it's a tool that is absolutely worth getting in your tool belt. So I would say anybody and everybody should invest in that 3-day training, level one. To find out about it and then to see where you might go from there.
I love it. And then your business.
Tharseo.
Tharseo.
Tharseo LLC.
Yes. So would they make the same contact to find out more about that?
If they would like, yes. If they would like to be coached by me personally, and I would let them know that my first 2 sessions are always complimentary.
Okay.
Because I want people to experience it without any commitment, so that they can really know what it's all about. They would just contact the website, give me a call, and we can get that scheduled. Be happy to. And if they're interested in having training come to their organization, we do that. Like I said, I'm also a consultant. If they would like someone to come in and talk about these ideas and how they can apply to their business, their nonprofit or whatever, would be more than honored to do that.
I love it. Thank you so much
for
sharing this hour with us.
Yes.
I really, really appreciate it, and I hope you promise to come back. You're on film, so please say yes.
Oh, I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I will be here.
So
In fact, I'm going to be here next month and the month after and the month after. So in the next 3 months, I will be down here. So we'll have to do an update.
A follow-up.
Yeah,
That's right.
that'd be great.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you so much again, Coach
You're
Dave.
welcome.
I really appreciate you for this. This is Miss Charline with Lunch with the Finance Bunch. You can find us on all social media at thefinancebunch.com. And I want to thank you for listening. And again, Coach Dave, thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Thank you.
And sharing the sanctuary with
Yes,
us.
the sanctuary. It's been awesome. Great studio you got.
Great studio. Thank you so much.